Today we are working on lesson 29, which is ratios. First thing you want to do is copy down a definition of a ratio. Ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. It looks just like a fraction to you. And there are 4 ways to write ratios. If I told you in a class there were 12 girls and 16 boys, that would reduce to 3/4. So the first way you can write a ratio is as a fraction, and it would be 3 to 4, and that's how you read it, even though it says 3 divided by 4. You could write it as a decimal, and you all know that 3/4 is 0.75. If you didn't, divide your numerator by your denominator. You can write a ratio using a colon, so it would be 3:4, or you can write it using the word 2, and so it would be 3 to 4. In your book, when you get problems, they will say it is a ratio of 3 to 4. The best way to do it is to write it as a fraction. And here's a word of advice: be careful. When you write a ratio, make sure you are writing it in the order that it's stated in the problem. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. Suppose you have a class that has 15 boys and 9 girls. And they say to you, what is the ratio of? The first one we're going to do is girls to boys. You might be tempted to say 15 to 9 because 15 is listed first, but girls are actually 9, boys are 15. You also have to remember that you need to reduce ratios to lowest terms, so that would be 3/5. The second one is boys to the class. They don't even mention the class in the original problem except to say the class has 15 boys and 9 girls, so you're going to need to add the number of boys and girls and get 15 to 24, which reduces to 5 to 8. And finally, they might say, what is the ratio of the class to girls? And that would be 24 to 9, which would reduce to 8/3. If a ratio is an improper fraction, leave it as an improper fraction. Do not make it into a mixed number. The other hint that I would have for you is start out by using initials or words of what the ratio they want is to help you get your mind into the right set of what you're doing. Okay, ratios often use estimates, and an example of that would be a stock market report. Well, stock market's not doing very well, but sometimes they talk about advancers to decliners, so that would be the stocks that are good to the stocks that are bad. Suppose you read that the ratio of advancers to decliners was 789 to 579. Most people are not going to understand what that means, so you might want to estimate, so you use your approximate sign. 789 would round to 800, 579 would round to 600, and if you reduce that, it comes out to 4 to 3. So advancers led decliners 4 to 3. That's easier to understand than 789 to 579. So they will tell you when they want you to estimate. If they use the word about, always estimate. The next thing is rate. Rate is a special type of ratio. It uses 2 measures with different units. You're familiar with a lot of rates. You might ask miles per hour, miles per gallon, weeks per year. Notice the division bar is often used when you hear the word per, and per also usually means 1. So miles per hour means how many miles do you go in 1 hour. This might be how many weeks of vacation does your dad get per year. Okay? So here's an example of when you might use rates. This gives the rate of how many pages a student reads and how many minutes a day they spend reading. So the first thing, whenever you have a chart like this, you should do is probably get a total of both the pages and the minutes in this case. And there are 60 pages total read and 120 minutes total read. So they might ask you to find the approximate reading rate. Well, you need to get used to making columns, because once you get into your further algebra studies, you're going to need to do some kind of rate work. This means pages per minute. So on day 1, they read 15 pages in 20 minutes. In day 2, 11 pages in 20 minutes. In day 3, 14 pages in 30 minutes. In day 4, 20 pages in 40 minutes. The next thing you should do is go back and reduce any fraction that you can. So this is 3/4, this is 7/15, and 1/2. And also, if you look at your total pages to total minutes, it also reduces to 1/2. So if I asked what this child's approximate reading rate was in pages per minute, most of them are around 1/2, and that's exactly what the total is. So they read about 1 page every 2 minutes. You can also do it, they might ask you minutes per page, so it's important to make sure you know what order you have, because here you would just write the reciprocal of all of these fractions. I'm going to go ahead and write down the reduced fractions for the rest of them. And again, every one of them is pretty close to 2 minutes for 1 page. So just make sure you know what order you're supposed to put them in. So today we are doing the practice set on page 188, and you will do A through F. Good luck.